Hello and welcome to Film Inquiry's YouTube channel. My name is Akemi. I am a writer and social media manager at Film Inquiry, and I'm here today with what I hope isn't a rant but probably will turn into one about Ghost in Shell, Death Note, probably a little bit about Aloha, Asians in Hollywood, representation, diversity, all that stuff. I know you're probably tired of hearing it, but kind of can't help it. I haven't gotten all my anger out on Twitter, so I'm gonna make a video about it. So let's just get into it. So when talking about all this stuff, the big word that likes to be used is racism.
Racism!
For any of you that don't know what racism is, it's the prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's race is superior. To some extent that is true. White people, or Hollywood thinks that white people deserve to be everywhere and seen all the time, which I mean is so normal at this point that it doesn't really matter. But the thing that really sucks about all of this is not that they don't like us. Obviously they do if they want to make these movies and share them with the world. What they're saying is, we think you're cool or your stuff is cool, but we don't want you there. Like, we don't care about you. And I can deal with someone not liking me, but it really hurts when someone doesn't care about you. That sucks. And it's pretty obvious the level of ignorance and ambivalence that they feel towards us based off their defense when they do these movies and they do whitewash them. When Sanders was defending casting Scarlett Johansson as the lead in Ghost in Shell, he didn't even mention that it was about race and it was more about her ability and experience as an actor. 20 years of experience, and she had the cyberpunk aesthetic already baked in. She comes from such edgy films like Lost in Translation and Under the Skin. I don't know if Lost in Translation is enough to make Scarlett Johansson an edgy RoboCop, but it was definitely filmed in Tokyo, so that must mean that she's an expert in Japan, and definitely the reason why she was casted. An earlier case in 2010, M. Night Shamalan casted Noah Ringer, who is a little white boy from Texas, as the lead in The Last Airbender, which is an Avatar adaptation. And in his defense, he said that there was no other human being in the planet that could play Aang except for this kid. To me, he felt mixed race with an Asian quality to him. I don't know what having an Asian quality means when you are not Asian, but sure, that must be a good enough reason. I can totally see it. Both of those quotes are pretty lazy reasons to explain whitewashing, and they really don't at all, because they don't care about explaining it. What they want you to understand is that their creative control is more important than the people they're portraying. And the reason that they can get away with it is because whitewashing seems so normalized because it's a product of cultural appropriation and microaggressions. Both of those are buzzwords right now, but if you don't know what it means, cultural appropriation is the act of taking or using things from a culture that is not your own, especially without showing that you understand or respect this culture. A good example of cultural appropriation is sushi and poke burritos. Both of these things became fads because they're taking something that's different and exotic and turning it into something that's appealing to Americans, which is really, really, really big, because sushi's great and everything in small bites, but apparently it needs to be a pound for it to be up to America's standards. A microaggression is a small act or remark that can make someone feel insulted or treated badly because of their race. Even though the insult may not have been intended, that can combine with other similar acts or remarks over time and cause emotional harm. In getting away with whitewashing, microaggressions play a huge part, because deep down, we kind of believe what they're telling us, that all Asians look the same, or that an Asian face isn't conventionally attractive, so they can't be the star of a movie. So when it comes to making these movies, it makes sense that they can't cast us because none of us are famous enough to be recognizable and have the star power that they're looking for, but they never give us a chance, so how could there ever be a star? This is why I think Moana is one of the better movies that has come out in the past few years. It still has its fair share of cultural appropriation, and it isn't perfect, but at least Disney found Polynesian descent actors to voice the characters, and they weren't even going to be seen on screen. And they really reached to find any kind of star to attach to the movie. Nicole Scherzinger plays Moana's mom, and she's not even really an actor, she's a singer. And Disney found Auli'i Cravalho to be the voice of Moana. She was completely unknown, but she's had the same it girl effect that Haley Steinfeld did when she broke out in True Grit. She is also of Asian descent, and she's come to be a huge success. She's in Pitch Perfect, and she was amazing in The Edge of 17. So stars can be made from Asians, so why don't they try? The argument that you need a famous person to make a movie that'll make money is completely irrelevant, and that's shown by the fact that in its opening weekend, Ghost in the Shell made $18 million. To put in perspective how bad that is, The Green Lantern was able to gross $53 million in its opening weekend. I think part of the reason that Ghost in the Shell is doing so bad in the box office is because right before it premiered, it came to light that her character was actually a robot with the brain of a Japanese woman. So they took this Japanese woman's brain and then they put her into the body of Scarlett Johansson, which is the most visual representation of whitewashing I have ever seen. And I think because it was so in your face that people were really turned off by it. With every review I read about Ghost in the Shell, it's becoming really clear to me that the whitewashing hits deep in this movie. It's not just Scarlett Johansson, but they've completely erased the cultural ties of Japan and just left it as a setting. The Hollywood Reporter just came out with an article that interviews 4 Japanese American actresses, and they watch the movie and talk about it. And what really resonated with me is that, spoiler alert, the Major is supposed to reunite with her mother, who is Japanese. And in that moment, Scarlett Johansson comes in and she's embraced by her mom, and they're crying and they're so happy to be back together. But if you're Japanese, you would know that no one does that. You don't show physical affection, and if you ran away and you're just coming home, the only thing you would be feeling is shame. You would not be looking at your mom, you would not be hugging her, you would be 10 feet away looking at your feet, crying because you dishonored her so much. I think part of the reason it's doing so poorly, on top of it being controversial, I think a lot of fans are disappointed that it doesn't have anything that resembles the original movie. By whitewashing it, they've turned Ghost in the Shell to the most generic story, and it's completely lost the essence of what made it special. Which kind of makes me optimistic, because maybe that means that they can't make these movies without us and we have to be in them. But then Death Note came out. Death Note is supposed to be a live action series that's going to be on Netflix, and I know nothing about Death Note, but I know that there is some pretty intense whitewashing coming out in this show. Nat Wolff has been cast as the lead in the show. His name has turned from Light Yagami to Light Turner. Another character, Misa Amane, has been changed to Mia Sutton, and she will be played by Margaret Qualley. Because of this blatant whitewashing, a petition has started to circulate the internet that has almost hit its 15,000 signature goal to boycott the show. I think this petition is inspired by the one that started to circulate when it was announced that there was a spec script for the live-action Mulan that had a 30-year-old white merchant love interest for Mulan instead of Shang. That petition was extremely successful, and it made the studios promise that there wouldn't be any white characters in the story and they would stay true to the original. I hope that Death Note has a similar success, making it aware to Netflix and the creators that saying that we don't matter by whitewashing isn't okay anymore. And I think we're at a good place where people are starting to realize that. On the bright side, Gemma Chan just signed on to join Constance Wu in the adaptation of Crazy Rich Asians, which is a bestseller, and it is being developed by Warner Brothers. I think Hollywood is starting to realize that they can't have their stories without us, so just have to keep pushing, being annoying like this. I hope it works, or else I was annoying for nothing. If you enjoyed this video, check out the rest of the stuff we have on our channel, or read some great articles on filminquiry.com.